Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke, but I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
I'm back with Tom Bucsku. Tom, what's the best joke anybody's ever made out of that last name?
I could give you a bunch of them. Babushka, I got from a Middle Eastern guy, and apparently that's, I think, something you wear. The other one, the best joke, though, is when I was in college, who was it, the Rolling Stones that have the song that goes, but they would put my name and they'd say, Bush-Coup, Bush-Coup. And I forget the rest of the song, but it fit perfectly.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna have to look it up after the show now.
Can I add one to the list?
Please.
I'm picturing it as Bush, B-U-S-H, Coup, C-O-U-P.
There's definitely something to work into the dating world there.
Seizure of power over the bush.
Well, isn't that what all the men are looking for?
Well, my last name, Secchi, means the second orgasm in the whatever friggin' dictionary, urban dictionary. So yeah, your mission is in your name.
Well, there you go.
There you
Power
go.
over the bush so that she can have a second orgasm. Everybody wins.
Why stop at two? Anyway, the thing of that is the male orgasm side, but hey, let's not go there yet. We've got plenty of time. What nationality is your last name?
It's Hungarian.
Oh, okay.
Eastern European, like
Yeah,
you said.
I mine is Czech, but I'm also Hungarian, so I just thought to ask, and Brian was right. So there you go, Brian. All right, where we left off is just investigating. I mentioned to you the Sex Love Addicts Anonymous, and you mentioned that what men will do for connection to avoid, what they do with pain management to avoid love and connection. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, pain management is something I think all of us do to some degree, and for some of us, like myself, it ran my life. And it shows up in so many different ways. And, the sex and love is one way of doing it. Like when I was in my 20s, I was a serial monogamist. I just simply couldn't be alone. And I had to have some place to find that comfort, to lose myself. I know of men who have actual sex addictions, and whether that means affairs or being, single, not committing, and then just having a string of one-nighters or short-term. And then, of course, there's porn and masturbation, which are just one of the worst things to happen to society in the last, let's say, 50 years. I mean, listen, everybody enjoyed Playboy when it first came out, but the availability of porn on the internet now, I worry about the future generation of kids growing up with it. Because I had to go sneak my brother's Playboys out of the bedroom, or sneak a peek at 7-Eleven when I was a kid. Now you just pull up your smartphone any minute of any day, and you never have to feel what's going on in your body. You just distract yourself, get a dopamine hit, and it doesn't even have to be porn. It could be Instagram or Facebook Reels, or get on a dating app and just swipe till you see a pretty girl.
I am gonna tell you both a quick story. I'm very careful where my boys are concerned, but when the porn issue first came up, I made that particular son a deal. I think they were about 13, and I explained why I didn't like porn, because it just makes the bar too high for a sexual experience. And I had more to the explanation, but I was pretty good at explaining things, and I made that son a deal that I would buy Playboys. So I'm not. I'm not saying it was my best parent moment of all time, but it was my solution. I just didn't want them to have these. Not only not objectify women, but I just didn't want them to have. I wanted to lower their expectations.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel sorry for the young women, whether it's high school or college, who are hooking up with these young men that have this unreal expectation of, you're going to dress like a cheerleader and you do the dirtiest things in the world and say all the things. And it's great to do that if you're in a safe place, but that's not the norm. That's not the expectation.
Yeah, you just reminded me of my second date with my ex-husband. I probably should have held back. So, another thing we alluded to is the emotions trapped in the body. And I'm assuming you mentioned somatic, but I'm assuming, and tell me, do you do fascia work?
Not in terms of like massage. I know people that will have, what they call therapeutic massage. And sometimes just in a regular massage, emotions will come up. But at least that has happened for me. But I do something different called somatic integration, where you don't need to necessarily do work with the fascia in that way, though you do put your hands on your body, and there's a series of things that you can do. One of my mentors, David Mailer, who learned from Donnie Epstein, created this, what he calls SRI, somatic release integration. And there's 12 stages of consciousness, and they work with different energies in our body. And I don't want to get off too far of a tangent, but ultimately what it is that our body is like a record book of all the experiences that we have, as well as experiences of other people, by the way. We can absorb emotions from people we're close to, especially, our spouse or parents. We pick that up. And that gets stored in our body. So what we do is we find where that is in the body and we experience it. So, for example, in my case, when I had abuse as a child, you don't know how to deal with that, right? You've talked about this association. One way of doing that is to just forget about it completely. Another way is to shove it down, and that emotion that you couldn't experience at the time is literally stored in your body as a vibration. And so what I needed to do was I needed to find it in my body. And I will tell you, it is under my lower left rib. Like, there's a specific point where I stored that experience and that emotion and to feel it. But you can't just go there most of the time. First, you have to find safety, which is also in your body. And so I have an entire practice that I help people find safety in their body, find safety off of their body in their own energy field or out in the world, and then bring that to the place where they're holding their wounds and their traumas so that the experience can finally be experienced so that it no longer controls you.
Yeah, that is kind of where I'm at. Like the healing that I've done and now want to help others step on the path too, if they choose. It has been lovely for my head. I'm still working on the body components, and I'm still trying to release cortisol and release whatever I'm still storing. I know for myself, a good part of it has come out of doing this podcast because it has made me revisit things, especially with others. And I'm so, my fear, you heard it? Do you both hear how I just said fear? Fear? My fear is that the folks listening, whenever they find this and it resonates with them, I just don't want folks thinking I haven't processed a lot of what I've processed. But in order to help other people through it, it puts me back into what it took. And that puts pressure on my body. And I'm holding on to weight now that I didn't have to worry about 2 years ago, and it's amazing. It's amazing, and I'm trying to release it, and I am adamant about releasing it because I know it's really about me. It's not about this podcast.
Yeah, and I think that's true for all healers, right? We, wherever we are on our journeys, we've experienced some form of healing, and we, number one, want to pay that forward. But in helping others heal, we heal ourselves.
Right, absolutely. And there's going to become a point where I'm not talking about it and you're not talking about it. And we will be on to other things. Or maybe not. I mean, I just have to get to a point with it where I've gotten enough out of me that, and that for me is writing. It's not podcasting. If I can write it, then I can, it's hard and fast, and I can move on. And I'm writing a book. I don't know if I told you, called Laugh So I Don't Die. And I suspect that book will get me to another level with getting what I need to get out of me.
Yeah, that's your mode of processing. And,
yes.
I will tell you, I don't know how much of this kind of somatic work you've done, Joanne, but if I were coaching you, just the way that you had chuckled and then the way that you said fear are indications that even in that moment you were feeling it, but then you moved past it.
Yeah.
So like in my coaching work, I would have you pause and fully experience it right then and there in the middle of the conversation, which I'm not going to do on a podcast. But these are little signs that we're bypassing.
No, I know.
We just don't want to go there. And so to me, that is the biggest healing. Like if there's one thing I could teach people, it's to stop and feel the emotions.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. And I have somebody that I'm going to be doing fascia work with because the head part I am a head on in ways I'm not going to get into, and then the body thing for me is self-sabotage. And that's where my self-sabotage goes. It won't go to my mind, it'll go to my body. And I'm aware. Is that
what you meant by releasing weight? Do you mean like physical weight?
Yeah, weight was a huge issue. Like when you described, and I don't know if I'm going to do a good job at it, but when you described the messaging in your head, the messaging in my head was consistently tied to weight, and other things. The abuse was very, very psychological, but weight was always in the mix. And as long as I looked good to men, then I have never tried to put words to this, so forgive me. But they ultimately treated me better the better I looked. So now, and they weren't interested in my mind and the things that I thought about, and that hadn't occurred to me yet. So that was a long time in coming, and I'm not trying to get into the bigger picture. I'm trying to focus on just my issue with weight. So now I absolutely am aware that I know when I lose 10, 15 pounds, I attract the wrong energy again.
Mm.
So I keep myself at a place where I'm fielding off the fake interest. But it ends up hurting me.
Right. It's really, we call it self-sabotage, but it's really keeping you safe.
Yeah.
Right. Call it your inner child, call it your ego, whatever it is. There's a part of you that knows that if you become more attractive, you're going to get this unwanted attention from people you don't want it from. I worked with a woman several years ago who had been raped and ended up having the child from it, which was a blessing and all of that. It was one of my anyway. But she was heavy and perpetually heavy and couldn't figure out why. I try this diet, I do this exercise program, whatever. And said, because you don't feel safe being attractive. Very simply. I mean, with a traumatic experience like that, no wonder you would want to hide in plain sight and not get the attention of men. And there's no diet or exercise program in the world that's going to outrun your subconscious.
I know. You're right. And I've known it for some time, and I got myself to where I wanted to be for a short period of time, meaning for me. And then I just anticipating doing this podcast. I just started. I mean, I'm not. To be clear, it's 10, 15 pounds. It's never. At one point, I went way over, but I had lost that several years ago, and that was in conjunction with the awakening and some other things. It's much more involved. It's not as simple as it sounds. But I know exactly what I'm doing now, and I know exactly why, and I just can't make it stop from the perspective of my voice. I don't know what it is about my voice coming out of a thinner body. It just feels safer coming out of a heavier body, because once I've done all that I want to do to get this out, it's my little hook. You know what I mean? My little Shempa from Buddhist. I don't know if you follow Buddhism, but the concept of Shempa, it's the thing that keeps me on the hook just a little bit. Did I lose you?
No, and I'm just thinking that, that primary thing you want to do is find that safety, and once that's it. Like, find that safety and recognize that. Here's the other piece for you, Joanne, or for other women who might have similar challenges, is that you can set healthy boundaries around that.
Yep.
Meaning that you can lose the weight and be attractive and feel good in your body. Because let's face it, you're going to feel good. Your mind's going to work better. You're going to have more energy, and so on. And you learn and I can't speak to what this is like or how you do this as a woman, but I know women who do it. I know, there's many very beautiful women that I've connected with who own their sovereignty and don't allow that negative energy that you're talking about or that negative attention come in. Like, they'll still get it, but then when you are working on yourself and raising your vibration in such a way, you're actually only going to attract other people who are at that higher vibration, and your light's going to be so powerful that the ones who are lower vibration and want you just for sex or just for something physical, or just, they can't touch you, or you set these boundaries of, let's say some guy comes up to you in a grocery store that you can feel the energy of, oh, he just wants to fuck me. Like, you can create an energetic boundary around that and nicely blow that off. You don't have to be a bitch. You don't have to be an asshole. You just move them along and continue with your day. And that's a skill I can't teach, because as a man, I've never had that experience, but I know many women who have.
Yeah, and you're. I'm glad you said it. For those it applies to, it doesn't really apply to me in the sense of just want to fuck me. That's not. It's not an insecurity thing. For me, it's absolutely about my brain and never being appreciated for my brain. And I know that, like I know my name. And I can cite various examples that I'm not going to do now because I don't want to go too tangent. But I had no, when I was comfortable in my body, not that I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to make it a bigger deal than it is, because cortisol is at work, and that's something I haven't had to deal with before. At least I don't think so. I don't know. But I can almost feel the cortisol now, which is a very different thing than when I had weight on before. But when I got down to the weight where I wanted to be and spent some time there, it was really easy for me. But I wasn't interested in men. I had come through the Kundalini awakening, and that was all about me. And as I'm sure you know, very often people have a spiritual awakening, and they can't have sex just to have sex anymore.
Yeah.
And that was a very interesting thing, because I had never had an issue with using a man for sex. Not that they can be used well, I might comment, but it's yeah, I know what I'm doing, and I'm working on it. I just I put a pressure on myself to look a certain way to do this podcast, and as soon as I did that, Tom, I couldn't. I just had to go with what I didn't want. A part of my subconscious did not want me to be at 100% doing this. And I know what I do.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing for you is that it's really more about wanting to be appreciated for the other parts of you, like you said, your mind.
Oh my God!
And it would offer your heart as well.
Oh my God! Yes, being what I looked like when I was young didn't have any value to me. Plus, I was raised with a mother who just thought, what did she used to say? She used to say, "Fuck." What did she say? Vanity. She was my mother was a stunning woman, and she didn't believe in vanity. She didn't believe she was my best friend. Don't get me wrong, but she didn't tell me I was beautiful till I was in my 50s. When I was young, and let's say I was really attractive, she would always tell me, look ugly when I traveled. Just look ugly. Look ugly. That was the way she handled me being beautiful, because she didn't know what to tell me. And it was years later that I realized what I was packing. I didn't think about it when I was young. In fact, I fantasize about being 25 years old for one night when I used to go out. And I got all the attention in the world from men. So it still wasn't about that for me. But yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of a little different. I've never not had the attention of men, so it's about the man, whoever that one guy is, that I still think is out there. So that's the little girl. All right. I apologize for that tangent, but I'm glad it came up, and I'm glad you weighed in, because I think that will help others.
I was just going to say, don't apologize. I'm sure your listeners will have loved that section.
Yes. And just so you're clear, and I always say my 10.2 listeners are clear, the body shaming came from my brothers. The body shaming came from my ex-husband. I did not bring that body shaming mentality into my sphere. It was just enough of it from others that, I can remember, and I know it was about them, and I know it was about my confidence, and I know what the goal was, but, I would be dressed up and stunning and feel great, and my brothers would make comments about my weight, and I'm not, and I wasn't overweight, which was part of the problem. So, just so you know how it plays into the psyche. I
can imagine that the havoc that must have played on your subconscious.
Yeah.
Between your brothers and your mother telling you to look ugly.
But I always felt beautiful, which is the irony. I always thought I never thought I was. I had people telling me to model. I had enough attention to, I had a ton of attention. I men in business would tell me all the time, and I was just like, all right, I didn't really, it just wasn't, and thank God for my mother, because aside from her, I knew she thought I was beautiful. I just knew she was afraid for me, so it didn't negatively affect me that she didn't. And then when I was older, she would always tell me when I got dressed up or put on makeup, she said, "You're gilding the lily. You're gilding the lily." So she came around in the end. One thing that has me very curious is your beliefs on dating. Like, what are you telling these men? Because I want to tell you how I look at online dating. And if you tell me I'm like fucking it up for myself, what do you tell men? And then I'll respond, because I'm just curious.
Well, first off, let's talk about online dating for a minute, and then dating in general. Online dating is just a moneymaker off the men, plain and simple. And I do know men who
Brian, the married
success.
guy, agrees with you.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, it's number one, half the women that you quote unquote match with are bots or trolls or whatever you want to call them.
Well, it's something I've never done, but like I met my wife the old-fashioned way in a bar, but I knew her before that. But yeah, like from a male perspective, you could totally tell that that's 100% who it's geared for.
Yes, because let's face it, women don't have a hard time attracting men. I mean, women certainly. If you want sex, any woman can go out and get sex today. Any woman.
Oh, I would argue that. I would fucking argue that.
I'd be happy to hear that argument, but I mean, now, are you having sex with your first choice is a different answer. But in terms of
I can also
the dating,
coax a dog with peanut butter, but come on. I mean, what the fuck? That would be fun to argue. Yeah, I don't need my first choice. I'm not looking for the one, but men do not like being used for sex. They do not. And, maybe it's the type of woman I am, but I would argue that. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation to have. But to get back to your question about what I teach people in terms of dating, it's like the online game is stacked against you as a man. And to give you an example, my oldest daughter's 31 at this point, and I remember it might have been 2 years ago. We're talking about dating and her experience as a young woman, and I think she was on Tinder and on a paid subscription where she could see all the things. And she's told me at that point she literally had 2,000 matches waiting for her. And she would swipe throughout the day. And at the end of the day, she'd still have more than she started with. How do you compete with that as a man? Like, what is your first profile picture going to look like? And there are things you can do to get, better odds, but it's challenging. So, and I do know men that do really well. They get lots of connections and lots of first dates, and you can go from there, because that's the goal, is right, to get off the app. But generally, it's really difficult, especially for the men. And then you for the women on the other side, you're overwhelmed, and then you end up turning it off, and then you swipe through your 2,000 or whatever it is. So it's hard. So what number one thing I tell people is go meet women in real life. And that is something we're not used to. And it's, but just like Brian was sharing, you meet the old fashioned way and you instantly know if you have a connection, right? You feel a person's energy, you can read their body language, and you can have real interactions. And it's not just somebody, oh, I need a little validation. Let me see if I can get some matches. Oh, I'm bored. Let me just swipe. Or I'm pain managing. Let me look at some pretty girls. No, they're out in the world, and it doesn't have to be at a bar. In fact, I for the men that I work with, who are generally going to be, older, let's say 40 plus, the bar is not the place to go anymore. You want to be in a place where you can have a conversation and where people don't have their guard up. I mean, when I was 25 and I was going out to the bars, to meet women, and that is why you went out as a 25-year-old man. They have their guard up because the women know that's what you're doing. If you're at a dog park, the grocery store, a coffee shop, or whatever, you're just being a person in the world. And I forget where I was going with that, Joanne.
You're describing how you help men with. I was headed towards online. You went to the physical meetups, meaning they are a better place for men to meet women. I don't know if that's the same is true for women, though.
Well, that's probably true, because, like I said, as a woman, you'll get tons of attention and lots to choose from. I think the challenge for women is how do you narrow it down?
Say that again. Brian was just mouthing something to me.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But you said the last sentence was what, Tom?
For women, it's going through and filtering through and choosing the ones that you want to engage in conversation with when you're talking about online dating.
Yeah, I got a real problem. I got a real problem because of what turns me on. I have been I think you know I'm autistic, and I've been physically turned on by many men. I haven't been emotionally and mentally turned on by that many men, and I'm in finance. So that is probably a problem.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. Jai Ma.